Welcome, children, to the second part of Day 2's online session. We have so far covered the triarchic theory of intelligence, under which we talked about componential, experiential, and contextual intelligence, and the PASS model of intelligence given by Das, Naglieri, and Kirby. We are now going to look into individual differences in intelligence. Is intelligence a result of nature, or is it a result of nurture? Nature, meaning the genes inherited from our parents, and nurture, meaning the environment that we are brought up in. The evidence for hereditary influences on intelligence comes mainly from studies on twins and adopted children. Given below is the correlation for intelligence of identical twins who were brought up together or brought up apart, and fraternal twins and siblings. As we can see, the strongest correlation is that of the intelligence of identical twins who were brought up together. Since twins share their genes with their parents and the environment, it is but obvious that the correlation for their intelligence will be high. Is intelligence a result of nature, or is it a result of nurture? Nature, meaning the genes inherited from our parents, and nurture, meaning the environment that we are brought up in. The evidence for hereditary influences on intelligence comes mainly from studies on twins and adopted children. Given below is the correlation for intelligence of identical twins who were brought up together or brought up apart, and fraternal twins and siblings. As we can see, the strongest correlation is that of the intelligence of identical twins who were brought up together. Since twins share their genes with their parents and the environment, it is but obvious that the correlation for their intelligence will be high. Another line of evidence comes from the studies of adopted children. They share genes with their biological parents, but they share the environment of their adoptive parents. Studies on adopted children show that the children's intelligence is similar to their biological rather than their adoptive parents. But as they grow in age, their intelligence tends to move closer to that of their adopted parents. So we could say that intelligence is a product of complex interaction between both nature and nurture. And what heredity or genes or what nature does is it sets a range within which an individual's development is shaped by environmental factors. Now let us look at how intelligence was assessed. In 1905, Alfred Binet and Theodore Simon made the first successful attempt to formally measure intelligence. They came up with the concept of mental age. In 1912, William Stern devised the intelligence quotient, which is the mental age divided by the chronological age into 100. To understand this better, let's do a small activity. Given to you is the mental age and chronological age of a child, and you are required to calculate the IQ. So MA is equal to 12, CA is equal to 10. What is the IQ? Pause the video and take 2 minutes to do this activity. Once the IQ is calculated, how do we know where we stand with the rest of the population? For this, we have what is called the normal curve. IQ scores are distributed in the population in such a way that the scores of most people tend to fall in the middle range of the distribution. Only few people have either very high or very low scores. The frequency distribution for IQ scores tends to approximate a bell-shaped curve called the normal curve. Based on the normal curve or the distribution of IQ scores in the form of a normal distribution, we come up with the following classification of people based on IQ. Those having an IQ between 90 to 109 are within the average range of intelligence. Those who have below 70 IQ are intellectually disabled, and those who have above 130 IQ are considered very superior in intelligence. You can also see the percentage of population falling into each of the categories. Majority of the people fall into the average range of intelligence, with very few in either extremes. Now let us look at the two extremes of intelligence. People having an IQ below 70 fall into the category of intellectual deficiency. People who have an IQ of above 130 fall into the category of intellectual giftedness. Let's look in detail into these two categories. Given to you here is the definition of intellectual deficiency as given by the American Association on Mental Deficiency. We know that an IQ below 70 is categorized as sub-average intelligence. That's the first part of the definition. When we say deficits in adaptive behavior, we mean a person's incapability to be independent or deal effectively with one's environment. The third part of the definition is that these deficits must be observed during the developmental period, which is between 0 to 18 years of age. Within the category of intellectual disability or intellectual deficiency, there are various levels. The IQ ranges for each level given here are approximate and not exact. For mild intellectual disability, the range is approximately 55 to 70 IQ. For moderate intellectual disability, it is approximately 35 to 55. Those below or between 20 to 35 IQ are considered to have severe intellectual deficiency, and those who have an IQ below 20 or 25 are considered to be profoundly intellectually deficient or disabled. Let's look at the other extreme of intelligence, which is intellectual giftedness. Intellectually gifted individuals show higher performance because of their outstanding potentialities. The study of gifted individuals began in 1925 when Lewis Terman followed the lives of about 1,500 children with IQs of 130 and above. Although the terms talent and giftedness are often used interchangeably, they mean different things. Giftedness is exceptional general ability shown in superior performance in a wide variety of areas. However, talent is a narrower term and refers to remarkable ability in a specific field. Highly talented individuals are sometimes called prodigies. It has been suggested by psychologists that giftedness, from a teacher's point of view, depends on a combination of high ability, high creativity, and high commitment. Let's look at few characteristics of gifted children. Children who are gifted have advanced logical thinking, questioning, and problem solving behavior. They process information on high speed. They have a superior ability to generalize or discriminate between stimuli. They have an advanced level of original and creative thinking. They have a high level of intrinsic motivation and self esteem. They do not need motivation from outside. They have an independent and non conformist thinking, meaning they may not always go with the crowd. They have a preference for solitary academic activities for long periods. Intelligence tests are of several types. On basis of their administration procedure, they can be categorized as individual or group tests. An individual test is one which can be administered to one person at a time. A group intelligence test can be administered to several persons simultaneously. Individual tests require the test administrator to establish a rapport with the subject and be sensitive to their feelings and moods. Group tests, however, do not allow an opportunity to be familiar with the subject's feelings. Intelligence tests can also be classified as either verbal or performance tests on the basis of the nature of items used. Any test may be fully verbal, fully non-verbal, or fully performance based, or it could be a mixture of items from each category. Verbal tests require subjects to give verbal or oral responses or in a written form, and they can be administered only to literate people. The non-verbal tests use pictures or illustrations as test items. The Raven's progressive matrices is an example of a non-verbal test. In performance tests, subjects are required to manipulate objects or other materials to perform a task, and written language is not necessary for answering these items. The Coase block design test contains a number of wooden blocks and is an example of a performance test. Intelligence tests can be classified into culture fair or culture biased based on whether they favor one culture over another. For example, tests developed in America and Europe represent an urban and middle class cultural ethos. The norms for these tests are also drawn from Western cultural groups. So these tests will be biased towards the Western culture. It is nearly impossible to design a test that can be applied equally meaningfully in all cultures. But psychologists have tried to develop tests that are culture fair, meaning one that does not discriminate against individuals belonging to different cultures. So the test items are constructed in a manner that they assess experiences common to all cultures or have questions in which language usage is not required. In day 2 of our psychology class, we have looked at the triarchic theory of intelligence, the PASS model of intelligence, individual differences in intelligence, exploring the interplay of nature and nurture, assessment of intelligence, the normal curve and classification of people based on IQ, the two extremes of intelligence, intellectual deficiency and intellectual giftedness, and the various types of intelligence tests. And given below is the answer for the small activity of calculation of IQ that we did during our lesson. Please pause the video and answer the questions given to you to gain an understanding of how well you have understood the chapter so far. Have a good day, children. Thank you for listening. See you next time.